And Dr. Zeeshan, of course, as you can imagine, I've saved the best for the last, right? Uh, let's take a step back. Listening to the couple of panels before and this panel, what I'm hearing is the industry is yet again at a crossroad where incremental change is not enough. We really need to shake up, right, our direction, our thought process, how we enable this new direction. From your perspective, you bring a very strong academia background as well. From your perspective, what does Islamic finance industry need to do? You know, $4.9 trillion is the potential, right? 250 plus major players are there. What needs to be done to really bring a step change?
Brother Asher, you've been an old acquaintance, so and you know that my placement in this session was just last moment. I was supposed to chair a session tomorrow of academics, but because I'm not here tomorrow, I had to do this. So I'll try to answer your question, but I'll still keep that part here. So I'll just express my own burning desires with respect to Islamic finance, and usually come from educational side. So I'll just mention 3 of them here. So first one was, this was like a few years back when I was at LUMS, and there was a funding that came under one of the LUMS departments. It's called SEDC, Small Enterprise Development Center. And it came from Citibank. And it was about financial literacy, financial inclusion, to be taught to teenagers. And guess what? It turned out that it was kids like 7th graders, 8th graders, 9th graders, maximum O levels. They showed up, and I was teaching them. I found them in an awkward position that I'm teaching. I mean, I'm obviously a university teacher. This was the first time teaching these kids in bunch. So even though it was not one of the terms of reference, so there was not a requirement of Citibank funding, but guess what? Because I was there, I penetrated, I sneaked in Islamic finance module there. Now, these kids were not from religious families or religious backgrounds. They were from pretty liberal and secular backgrounds. But when I started talking about Islamic finance, guess what? It turned out to be one of the most fascinating sessions that they had in the entire 7-day seminar. So what I realized was that we are totally underserving the true potential of Islamic finance. So when presented rightly, even those segments of the society which on the face of it appear to be a little distant from Islam, they have the capacity to absorb. And suddenly their eyes are sparkling and they're showing interest in it, and they're already converts. So secondly, I was attending an IMD program, an executive education training back in 2019. As you know, IMD is ranked as top, the first perhaps in terms of executive programs. And we did a case on, from what I remember, was RBS, digital transformation at RBS. And there they talked about how they totally disrupted their model of a typical IFI, and they went all the way of introducing an app where the parents, the account holders, had the luxury of, first of all, it was through an e-wallet, an app in their kids' mobile phones, and they were able to track what their kids were buying in the cafeteria, in the canteen. They were able to track which library books they are checking out. They're able to track where they are at that time, and so on and so forth. So I thought, I started imagining and fancying what would be the equivalent of if Islamic Bank would do the similar kind of stuff. So I'm working in Islamabad these days, and I come back on weekends and fly back on Monday. And the reason why I'm here is because of this conference right now. So why can't my Islamic bank that I'm banking with, why can't they come up with a app where I can track my kids and see, for example, which books are they checking? If they're checking Harry Potter, that's fine, but are they checking Rahiqul Makhtoom as well? Are they checking maybe perhaps, Angela Duckworth's Grit or, growth mindset or something like that, the good things as well? What are they eating? Are they just eating junk or stuff like that? And I'm also worried about if they can also track if they're praying Jamaat with, the Fajr Jamaat and Zuhr Jamaat and all those. So the possibilities are endless. The clients and the customers would really appreciate that. And the third thing is that I had to deliver this digital transformation workshop, and I was doing all this Bitcoin stuff, and I found a very neat exercise of creating a sort of big Bitcoin platform within the class. And it's really neat, and the author has come up with such a good simulation where the students would be coming with the right hash, doing their math and all those things. So I found it, I could not have explained Bitcoin in a better way theoretically without this exercise. So I was wondering, there's so many exercises we can build with our own stuff in Islamic finance, with Muraba and other instruments, where students are working as a Sharia compliance officer or the product development officer, and they can come up with. So I think this is something that I need to criticize myself about, because I'm the educationist here, and we need to collaborate. I think, again, this is something that's going to come up tomorrow in the industry academia linkage. But I think this is one thing that, whether we talk about fintech, whether we talk about Islamic finance, I think there's a huge potential where banks joining their hands together with universities and professors, they can come up with the environment or ecosystem changing, society transforming ideas. And those can affect, everyone, all the Muslims, whether they are secular in their approach or they're to begin with, conservative.
That's very powerful.